Members, we will resume Committee of the Whole meeting pursuant to Sections 92-4 and 92-5A, subsection 4, Hawaii Revised Statutes. The committee has consulted in executive session with its attorneys on questions and issues pertaining to the powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and/or liabilities of the city and the council and its committees on the items listed on the agenda for executive session. We will now adjourn the Committee on the Whole and reconvene our normal meeting. So the Committee on the Whole is adjourned. Reconvening our full council meeting, I call the council meeting back to order. Members, we are on page 15 of the agenda. Page 15 of the agenda, first reading items. Members, first reading items are on page 15 through 19. We will have an opportunity in committee to fully discuss these. Of course, I do not want to hamper full debate and discussion, but I do just want to remind members that we will have an opportunity to address these matters at another time. So, top of page 15, first reading items, Vice Chair Wire.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the first reading items listed on pages 15 through 19 of the agenda pass first reading.
Kokua.
It's been moved and seconded. Vice Chair Wire for the explanation, starting with Bill 10.
Includes Bill 10 relating to refuse and recyclable materials, Bill 11 relating to electronic amusement devices, Bill 12 relating to gambling, Bill 13 relating to real property, Bill 14 relating to First Source Program, Bill 15 relating to the Climate Resiliency Fund, Bill 16 relating to refuse and recyclable materials, Bill 17 relating to real property taxation, Bill 18 relating to plastic, Bill 19 relating to the building code, and Bill 20 relating to funds.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Yes, sir. Are you taking these all at once or one by one?
Okay. I believe you did provide me with a list of registered testifiers, starting with Bill 10. Is Johnny May Perry available?
Mr. Chair, the testifier is not logged on.
Okay, is there anybody else in chambers who'd like to testify on Bill 10? Okay, seeing none, moving on to Bill 11. I believe we have Natalie Wasa. Aloha again.
Thank you, Chair. Council members, Natalie Wasa for the record. Just some comments. This particular bill would require permits for to display electronic amusement devices. And I ask that you look at the definition in there because it includes video games. And so the way I look at that, if you have a video game you're playing and you say, hey, look at this, then that person is supposed to have a permit to do that. So obviously I don't think that's the intent, and ask that you really work with that definition to make it clear what specifically you're looking for with this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I note that Mike Lambert is also registered to testify. Aloha, welcome. HPD.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, Council members. I am Captain Jerome Picaro of the Honolulu Police Department on behalf of Major Mike Lambert, who is now at DLE. So we just want to provide a little comments on this bill. The spirit of this bill will definitely help us on the back end of enforcement of illegal game rooms. I take that back, not so much the illegal game room side, but definitely illegal devices used for gambling purposes, more for bars, open establishments and whatnot. The only concerns that we have as an agency is just the front end regulation side. We want to know a little bit more information on how much staffing and how much work hours it would take to regulate the front end of providing permits for all amusement devices.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for HPD? Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, no questions. Thank you for being here. And I'll make more comments when I address all of the bills together, but we appreciate and support the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anybody else wanting to testify on Bill 11? Bill 11. Come forward, please.
Good afternoon, Chair members. I'm Gabriel Huntington, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney for the Department of the Prosecuting Attorney, offering some comments on this bill. This was part of the package of bills that came out of the Game Room Task Force, and the aim of this bill was to lower some of the barriers to entry for getting a warrant to search an illegal game room. The idea was that by doing the work up front, they have to display a permit. You go in, you see a gaming device without a permit, you know that there's evidence of an offense. As written, I think the language needs some fine tuning. I also understand the administrative burdens on HPD, also as written, might be a little high. I have some specific recommendations for change, which is the criminal penalties. I recommend making this a straight misdemeanor. Right now it's somewhere in between a petty, a regular misdemeanor that can have administrative difficulties. I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here and for your work on the Gambling Task Force. We'll take into consideration all of your amendments and make sure to incorporate it for the best outcome, but appreciate you being here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you. I look forward to your work with us in committee.
Thank you.
Mahalo. Members, moving to page 16, Bill 12. Would anybody like to testify? Let's see who's registered. I don't believe we have any registered testifiers. Is there anybody from the audience who'd like to testify? Natalie Wasa, please proceed.
Thank you. Yes, I might not have put this one down. So Natalie Wasa for the record. As I understand it, this bill authorizes HPD to work with DPP on legal issues, again, getting at the gambling. But my question is, and I think this should be brought up in the committee, is, you know, if you're signaling out DPP to work with HPD, what happens to all the other departments? Do they have to have then their own authorization? I mean, there could be issues within those departments as well. And I thought that HPD could already work with each department. So I just have questions that I hope you'll talk about in the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to still on page 16, Bill 13. I believe Natalie Wassa signed up to testify on Bill 13.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. So I am really very upset about this bill. I oppose it. This bill authorizes landlords to work with HPD to grant police to go into renters' homes without a warrant. That is unconstitutional. This bill also requires that the police inspect the home, that they have a copy of the lease, that if they see violations of the lease, that they report back to the landlord what those violations are, that they report to the mortgagor what the violations, the illegal activities, and that they report to the insurance company. This is so wrong, so over the top. And it's only, the landlord just has to think that there may be illegal activities. Why are you folks singling out renters? This should just not go beyond this hearing today. It's so wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Any questions? Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, thank you, Natalie, for being here. I'll address some of this in my comments, but I can assure you that it's not for renters, but this is something that we've actually done already within my district, but this is just making sure that HPD has an actual process to do it, because you can already give a letter as a landlord to HPD and they can do this.
Without a warrant?
Yes. So if you're a landlord, you can already say, I want HPD to enforce the law, not other things, enforce the law. But again, we're trying to make it into a process that is simple for HPD, and they don't go around doing this to everyone. We are specifically talking about areas that have had high nuisance, high problems, trafficking of guns, different crimes that are happening around the property. So it is for severe cases, I can assure you that. But I'll address it more in my comments, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other testifiers on Bill 13? Oh, please come forward. Can you push the button? Yeah.
Good afternoon again, Chair and members. Gabriel Huntington, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney for the Department of the Prosecuting Attorney. I'm going to echo what Councilmember Tupola said. This is a process that exists, and we're formalizing it. The additional this is another bill that came out of the Game Room Task Force. The additional authorities are only the ability to share reports with the landlord for the purpose of forwarding an eviction process or share reports with a mortgagor or insurer. So if the public is uncomfortable with this bill as written, those are the authorities that will really help in the game room area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the prosecutor? Councilmember Wire, then Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. And mahalo, I appreciate all the work you're doing. I just wondered if you could walk me through better understanding, because I understand HPD enforcing the law. We do like trespass bans, that are then in effect when the forms are documented and then going forward. I guess what concerns me is just the idea of HPD being positioned to enforce rental agreements. And so I'm just kind of wondering if you could flesh that out a little bit more.
So the importance of the landlord providing the rental agreement is that the inspection be conducted under the rules of the lease. And it's also, there's background rules, I believe in Chapter 521, for a landlord entering a property. So your landlord always has the authority to come to your house, arrange an inspection, and if they believe something is violating the lease, to cite you for that, to potentially evict you for that. So what this is looking at is delegating that authority to police. They would still have to follow the requirements of it, make a contact, have it being done during reasonable hours, speak to the person ahead, make an appointment, just like a landlord would. But there might be situations where a landlord is afraid of the tenants because there's often drugs and guns and other offenses occurring. And so they wouldn't have to physically be present. I mean, right now as a landlord, you can conduct an inspection and you can request an HPD accompaniment or an escort to assist you with that inspection. But the only difference is the physical presence of the landlord.
So just so I understand, so then under this bill, if HPD does an inspection and then there's observed violations of the rental agreement, they would initiate court proceedings?
They would not initiate court proceedings. They would provide copies of, they would be authorized to provide copies of the reports to the landlord, who could then initiate court proceedings.
Okay. So HPD wouldn't be, because I guess under normal circumstances, a landlord would do an inspection, document it, go to court to do the eviction, right?
Or depending on the offense, if you observed as a landlord, maybe drug offenses occurring, you could call HPD and report those, and HPD could then investigate.
Yeah, I mean, HPD is, anytime someone's breaking the law, they don't need an ordinance to give them authority to enforce the
Right.
law, right? If there's,
So this would be formalizing a process that already exists on an ad hoc basis.
okay, mahalo. I appreciate the insight, because I think for me, the concern is just trying to understand when HPD right now doesn't even enforce court orders for, say, an eviction order. Like typically they rely on the sheriffs to do that. But then this is kind of prior to there even being like an evaluation, bringing them into that process. And I understand what you're saying. You're saying they can already go on property with the landlord to help document and make arrests if there's violations of the law, but just wanted to kind of flesh that out. Feel free to add a final thought, and then I know we're short on time.
I was just going to say, if you're concerned about that verbiage, again, the new authority this grants is HPD's authority to share reports with landlords for the purposes of forwarding evictions or with mortgagors or insurers. Potentially, a mortgage could be violated by a game room being present because it subjects the property to asset forfeiture, and they could move to accelerate the mortgage, for example, and they could proceed with the forfeiture proceedings rather than the government.
Okay, mahalo. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. I have a question relating to the ad hoc basis that you mentioned, and I know that it is under current law that this occurs, but under which premise? Like, is it like a 1 or 2 or 3 times that HPD has responded to this location that you know they are a current gaming establishment?
So the imagined process would be a landlord would be contacted, which is something that we are already doing with our law enforcement partners as part of the nuisance abatement process. The contacting officer in that case could then inform a landlord that this process exists, and if they want to avail themselves of it, that they can submit the appropriate paperwork subject to the approval of the chief of police.
Is there possible room for error where a location may be misrepresented as a gaming establishment?
If the landlord was an error, the landlord could be an error, but that would be subject to the investigation authorized by this.
Okay, so we're just going to trust the lawyer or the landlord to just state what they state based off of what they think they know.
If the landlord were any other person reporting a possible crime, you have to trust the person reporting a possible
Okay,
crime.
thank you.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions, members? Seeing none. Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify? We're on Bill 13. Seeing none. Thank you, members. Moving on to page 17, Bill 14. Is there anybody who'd like to testify on Bill 14? Seeing none. Next, Bill 15, Climate Resiliency Fund. I believe we have 3 registered testifiers, starting with Natalie Iwasa.
Thank you, Chair. Natalie Wassa for the record. So this would set up a climate resiliency fund. It would require 0.5% of the estimated real property taxes to be put into the fund along with any interest, and it's to be used for such things as grants for cesspool conversions. So as I've stated many times, this just chips away at the flexibility of your budgeting process. If climate resiliency and these types of activities are important, then you have that ability to put that in the budget already. We don't need to have a special fund and tie the hands of future administrations in this manner. So I oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none, thank you. Next, we have Stuart Coleman.
Mr. Chair, the testifier is not logged on.
Not logged on, okay. Next, we have Ted Boland.
Mr. Chair, that testifier is also not logged on.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify? Seeing none, members, moving on to page 18, Bill 16. Anybody like to testify on Bill 16? Natalie Wassa.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. I oppose this, and no doubt this happened because Christmas and New Year's this year fell right smack dab in the middle of the week during a pickup day. Well, anybody who read the notices that came out should have known that there was no pickup that day. And so I believe that the city came the next day to pick up all those bins. I think this is not needed, and I think it also helps to, might motivate some people to just like continue throwing things out rather than trying to be conscious of what they're throwing out and how much they're throwing out. So I think it goes against what I've seen anyway, you folks trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none. I note the presence of Director Babcock, if anybody had any questions for the director. Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm not sure if this is a question for Director Babcock, but I was just wondering if, are we aware if UPW was contacted about this measure? Are you aware or know of someone you could direct that question to?
Yeah, thanks. Roger Babcock, Director of Department of Environmental Services. I'm not aware of whether the union's been contacted. There could potentially be a union issue. Additional collections would be done on overtime, all on overtime, and all overtime is optional for all employees. Happy to make additional comments at the appropriate time.
Okay. And what are the days? They only have specific, is it 1 or 2 days off all year, or do they have set days where they
not required to work? Refuse is collected from residential customers 6 days a week, all year long, except for 2 days, Christmas and New Year's.
Thank you, Director Babcock. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any follow-up questions for the director? Seeing none, thank you, Director. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers on Bill 17?
No, Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Okay. Moving to page 19, members, Bill 18, relating to plastics. I believe, I don't have any registered testifiers. Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me, members. Bill 17, Bill 17. I believe we have Natalie Iwasa and Chun James registered to testify on Bill 17. Please proceed, Ms. Iwasa.
Thank you, Chair. Natalie Iwasa, for the record. I oppose this bill. This bill would increase the homeowner's exemption from $120,000 to $140,000, and if over 65, it would increase that exemption as well. That equates to about $70 a year at the current rates. This exemption was increased just a year and a half ago, and residential A has been in place now for over a decade. The threshold for that has never been increased. And this just widens the gap between landlords who provide rent, homes for renters, and homeowners who actually live in their homes. So, I really wish you folks would look at all the exemptions. There's more money that can be in there without doing this kind of effort, because this will mean that other taxpayers have to subsidize the lower rates for the homeowners who live in their homes. So I really ask you to take a look at those other options rather than doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, is Chun James available?
Mr. Chair, the testifier is not logged on.
Okay, thank you. Moving to Bill 18. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers on Bill 18?
Yes, we have Ms. Iwasa in person and 2-person registered remotely.
Okay, let's start with Natalie Iwasa. Please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Iwasa, for the record. I oppose this bill as well. It's not as long as the other bill that we looked at last year, but it disallows the sale of single-use plastic bottles of 1 liter or less in vending machines that are on city property. If we don't have plastic bottles, we're going to have something else. We're going to have aluminum, and now we have the tariffs out there, and so the costs are going to go up. I get what you're trying to do, but I don't think that this is the way to do it. I think that, you know, we really need to look at motivating people to bring their own containers, for example, or other things. But this is just taking one type of container and it's going to have to be substituted by something else. So I oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have Lauren Zerbel and David Thorpe registered to testify.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, both are not logged on.
Okay, is there anybody else who'd like to testify on Bill 18?
Mr. Chair, one person with their hand raised.
Okay, please proceed.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. I'm Alexis Chapman. I'm testifying for Hawaii Food Industry Association on behalf of Lauren Zerbel and HFIA. We're in opposition to this measure. The vast majority of products and beverages that will be covered under this measure are locally produced. So we can and bottle beverages, water, sodas, juice, and a ton of other beverages locally. This industry supports hundreds of jobs here on Oʻahu and around the state. And the containers that we're talking about banning in vending machines under this measure are recyclable. And shortly, they're going to be recyclable in the state. So this is the kind of industry and the kind of closed loop recycling that we should be supporting and not attacking. And we stand in opposition. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And mahalo for your testimony. Appreciate all the work you do in terms of supporting our local businesses. I think all of us definitely want to do that. I'm just curious, how would this particular measure, specifically you're saying you oppose the city making its choice of what to put only in its own vending machines, right? We're not imposing any restrictions you know, on outside vendors, whereas the city is saying, hey, we're gonna, given we have a bunch of youth that, you know, made their requests, and after the last bill failed, right, they've reached out to the city and they're like, hey, okay, maybe just don't put it in vending machines, right? I'm just curious how this would affect businesses, and if all your members were informed that that's the scope of this bill, that the city is just trying to lead by example, but not necessarily penalizing anyone for what they want to do in their own business. Because I know we have a lot of local folks. I think Jason Momoa partnered with Kamehameha Schools. I don't know if you had opposed that, but I'm just curious what the reasoning is. Because I think for me it's kind of baffling when it's such a non-offensive, inoffensive measure to say, hey, you know, given the data, yeah, I guess I'm just super confused, like why you're opposing this. And I read your testimony, it didn't really seem to hone in on data to the measure and how it would affect your...
We're surrounded by it. Of all that plastic, the one type that is really easy and cheap and consistently recycled is PET. And the beverage industry has a great track record of recycling. They've been doing it for decades with aluminum. So this is, if we want real solutions, if we want real sustainability, this is the industry that we should be looking to as an example of how to do that, and not, you know, an example of what to ban.
Again, no, we're not banning it for other folks. We're leading by example. I mean, I don't think anyone would say plastic is good for us. I mean, we know the National Institute for Health is just released data. I mean, it was all over multiple news outlets, right? That plastics in our brain at 10, 20 times more than the rest of our body parts, and we're seeing links to neurodegenerative diseases. I mean, again, that's why I'm just super confused. It's such a low-hanging, inoffensive bill. I mean, are you telling us that plastic is healthy for us or that it's good for us? I mean, I don't think the science says that, but is that what you're saying, or your members?
I think that the science around foodborne illness actually does support that tremendously. Like plastic is an incredibly safe, sanitary, and lightweight product. That's why it's used in so much packaging. And PET in particular is really easy to recycle, and soon it's going to be recycled locally in state.
Okay, but you do agree that at least that we know that the particles are in our bodies? Like you agree with the the research, you're just saying it's not bad for us. Like the National Institute for Health, I mean, I know they're getting gutted and stuff, but you agree with the actual data that says the particles are there, you're just saying it's not a danger. Or do you disagree with the whole?
I'm sorry, I guess I'm not understanding your specific question to me related to this measure.
So you're telling me that plastic is better for us for foodborne illnesses, right?
I'm saying that plastic packaging protects our food in a way that, because it's lightweight, it's sanitary, and it's, you know, it's malleable, it's really easy to work with. It protects our food and keeps food sanitary and safe in a way that other materials don't, and that's why it's so common in food packaging.
Okay, so I'll wrap up, Chair. But so I guess what I was just asking was, so I just want to make sure, like, part of this process is knowing where we agree or we disagree, or so I'm just trying to understand your organization's position. So that was the reason for my question, right? So you're not disagreeing with the research that says, because some people may try to say that National Institute for Health is wrong, right? That all our health organizations are wrong. You're not disagreeing with the research that says the plastic is actually in our bodies. You're just saying it's not a health problem. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, is that part of this measure?
Yeah.
I was testifying specifically on this measure about banning plastic bottles in vending machines. So is that question related to this measure?
Yeah, it's underpinning the reason we're even having the conversation about getting plastics out of our, you know, reducing our plastic, right? I mean.
So you're asking me if I think consuming plastic is healthy?
I mean, you don't have to.
Just to restate the question.
Okay, I mean, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm looking for common ground because I'm extremely confused by your organization's position. And I'm just concerned that you can't even clearly state your agreement with the National Institute for Health data. It wasn't intended to be a trick question. I assumed that was something we agree on. But I don't have any further questions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up questions, council members? Seeing none. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on Bill 18? Seeing none, thank you. Moving on to Bill 19, related to building codes. Bill 19, I believe we have Natalie Wassa.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. I support this and appreciate the introduction. So basically, this bill would change the standard for when plans have to be resubmitted to DPP for approval. It changes the standard from any change to substantial change, and then it defines those. So this should help reduce the cost of housing, and I encourage you to look for more of these types of changes that can be made, because I believe that regulation, I forget what the amount is, but regulations add a whole bunch to the cost of building homes. So appreciate the introduction and support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, is there anybody else who'd like to testify on Bill 19?
No, Mr. Chair, there are no other testifiers.
Thank you. Bill 20. I believe Natalie Wassa signed up.
Thank you, Chair. Natalie Wassa, for the record. I oppose this, which might surprise some people. This would create a down payment loan assistance revolving fund for, I believe it's new homeowners. Deposits from the fund would come from the general fund, which means basically real property taxes, and then any repayments of the loan in principal and interest. Therefore, it's funded by county taxpayers. Loan is no more than 20% of purchase price, and there's some certain eligibility rules. The reason I oppose this is because the funding is going to be limited. So, there is such a great demand out there. I believe that demand will be way higher than the funds that are allowed or that are put into here. And so, with that demand, then each loan will have to be very low. And all you have to do is look at that transit relief fund to understand what I'm talking about. When people, those businesses down on Dillingham got $10,000, they're like, that's a drop in the bucket. So I think this type of program actually is better suited at the state or federal level. The county level, I just don't think it will work very well. But thanks so much for the attempt. I'm not convinced it would work very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none. Are there any other testifiers on Bill 20? Bill 20.
Mr. Chair, I believe we have a Stephanie Nojima standing by remotely.
Okay, please proceed.
Good afternoon, Stephanie Nojima for the Honolulu Board of Realtors. So on behalf of Suzanne Young, CEO of the Honolulu Board of Realtors, and our over 6,000 members, we are in support of Bill 20, which establishes a new fund to assist homeowners. And we really appreciate the efforts that the council has gone through to even look at what is available and what should be available. And we appreciate the efforts, and we recognize that existing down payment assistance programs, it faces challenges and limits the effectiveness. Issues such as income eligibility thresholds, funding constraints, and administrative hurdles can prevent many aspiring homeowners from accessing these opportunities. We want to work collaboratively with the council to address these challenges, improve program accessibility, and expand the number of residents who can benefit from these resources in the pursuit of home ownership. And I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Any questions for the Board of Realtors? Seeing none, thank you so much. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on Bill 20? Please come forward.
Aloha.
Aloha.
My name is Kelvin Hule. I'm a Konahiki for the Hawaiian Kingdom. And I want to address about our natives, the Kanaka Maoris, the housing shortage and everything like that. I'm just thinking, just came to my mind about having a fund to help them to stay here and own their own land, which we get them already. It's a allodial title, but I just like address my thinking today, my spirit, my conscience, that this kind of fund should be priority, respect, honor, aloha, spirit law, rule of law, and all the good stuff. The people in line first, whoever step on the plate first, should have that honor. So that goes to the Kanaka Maoris. So this kind of fund, they would be the first recipient of this kind of, to do the other kind of way for get their land back or their home. Thank you very much. Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha, please proceed.
Aloha, Konahiki. All lands in Hawaii shouldn't be taxed and should belong to the city or the state. First of all, never the annexation. The annexation paper that William McKinley, President McKinley had, was hidden. Congress didn't ratify the treaty. Now, if Congress never ratified the treaty, how come we can become the state of Hawaii? Or even you people here, the city and county. Now, all taxation have no representation. You folks got to understand this. You folks are not following the rule of law. If you folks follow the rule of law of the Mahele, the Great Mahele, and the 1852 Constitution, you'll find you folks are not following the rule of law. So if you folks do the research, find out how truthfully you folks are. Because our group is thinking you folks are not truthfully. Aloha.
Thank you. Okay, members, there are 11 first reading items. This is an opportunity, we're in discussion, an opportunity to state your objections or reservations, as well as, if I could, since there's 11 measures, limit to 1 minute per measure if you want to advocate for your bill. First reading. Okay, starting with Bill 10. Any discussion, members? Councilmember Tupolo.
Yes, briefly, thank you, Chair, for listing this, and I look forward to more discussion in committee. I just wanted to make note that prior to this year, that ENV had been collecting refuse at all the Hawaiian homesteads, and for some reason this year, they're going to call them commercial entities, and so that has been a burden, especially in my district where I have the most homesteads. So this bill seeks to resolve that and include them as they don't collect any homeowners association fees, and we want to help our communities. So thank you, Chair. In support.
Thank you. Rather than going through every bill like that, why don't we just say, whoever wants to speak on all of the bills, go ahead. Councilmember Tupola, why don't we finish up? Do you have any reservations?
Yeah, so real quick, I'm going to do 11, 12, 13 fast. So real quick, in support of all of those three bills, and I thank my co-introducer, especially for the work that we've been doing together. Bill 11, this specifically is going to help us with the mom and pops that have gambling devices so that we can have a fine instead of taking it straight up to a felony. Bill 12 has already proved very effective in the Kalihi areas, and so we're codifying this. Bill 13 is something that is happening, but there is no current HPD form to do this, so I've had to ask people personally to write letters, so this is just making it a more formalized procedure. I'm going to go to Bill 18. So with Bill 18, I'll be casting a no vote for that. This seeks to ban only in the city vending machines, and I thank the introducer and of course for his support of the environment. This right here, the polyethylene terephthalate, I have it right here. This bottle is made in my district, and this is highly recyclable. And I know that I showed everyone this, but this is what it's recycled into, these little pellets, then it's made into this, and then it's made into this bottle, and I've seen it recycled. So I do know that PET beverage containers are not single use. These are recycled over and over and over again. They have a smaller environmental footprint compared to aluminum. The city's curbside recycling program supports it because they're in high demand. We are about to get our own in-state facility in Hilo, looking forward to that. And the City Hall vending machine aluminum water bottles cost 3 times more than 100% recyclable bottles and aren't even recyclable due to the plastic aluminum layers. I just think that in general, the real issue is our behavior. You know, as somebody that cleans the community and sorts trash, plastic pollution happens because of littering and improper disposal. And I think that we should put our efforts towards education and getting more people to recycle, and as well supporting our local economy. The beverage industry is one of very few sectors still producing goods here in Hawaii, providing jobs and stability, specifically in my district in Campbell Industrial. Briefly on Bill 19, this is seeking to make it go along the lines of expedition for DPP and is going to make it possible that minor structural changes will not require a full resubmission. Lastly, thank you to my co-introducer for Bill 20. We're seeking to try to get more local families housed. So we think this will be a better way of having a fund that doesn't dissipate, but that is constantly regenerated. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Cordero, followed by Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Thank you, Chair. You know, first off, I'm going to be voting with reservation for Bill 13. I had the very same reaction that Natalie Iwasa had regarding this bill. I do know and have since read the report from the gambling task force or committee that was set forth, and so I'll just vote with reservations and pending further discussions. With that, I am in strong support of Bill 18 relating to plastic. I don't think that we were having it at certain city facilities or all of our city facilities will make a dent in the greater economy of things. So I think that is something that the city can issue forward. Next, I would like to thank everyone for their support of the Down Payment Assistance Loan Program. I do look forward to setting up and creating the program. I know that there's discussions on how to even get to creating a fund. I do hope that we can create the program and first so that we are able to determine where we would like to see the funds come from. And I think that will come out when we start to hear this bill, that pass bill, and move it forward as well. So thank you everyone for the support of getting people homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to limit my comments to Bills 11, 12, and 13 on the whole. I appreciate Councilwoman Tupola's efforts in this. Both her district and my district have a great number of these game rooms. A few weeks ago, there's a shooting in a game room in Palama. This is yet another instance of the kind of violence that these game rooms bring into our residential communities. And so I'm really glad to see that this is building upon our efforts from last year with Bills 57 and 58, the efforts of the Game Room Task Force. And I look forward to having these bills move forward because we do have to do something about this issue. With respect to Bill 13, I appreciate the comments that were raised. I would encourage members of the public who are interested to really look at the black and white wording of the bill with regard to the concern that this bill would lead to frivolous inspections. I'd refer people to section B5 of the bill, which requires a sworn statement from the owner or landlord as to the purpose of the inspection and the types of unlawful activities that may be occurring on the property. And then in proposed section 41(.2c, it spells out the process and affirmatively states the conditions to which the police officer would have to adhere in order to conduct these inspections. It's not a willy-nilly just police officers barging in simply because somebody thinks it's a game room. This requires cooperation between the landlord and the agent, reasonable belief on their part, and spells out the conditions under which the inspection can occur. But I look forward to continuing to work on these in committee, and I think that these bills collectively, as brought up by the Game Room Task Force, will really help to cut down on these activities in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wire, followed by Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. Wanted to mahalo the work of Councilmember Santos Tam and Tupola, and also the committee that's working on the gaming bills. Fully support the conversation around all of them. I'm gonna just signal reservations on Bill 13 because of the discussion, but do hope to have further discussion in committee about ways to modify it. I mean, I think my main concern really is just rental agreements or private civil contracts between a lessee and a lessor, and I just don't want HPD being opened up to liability by having to go in and document and look at these potential violations. But I do think there's potential for cleanup language after hearing from the prosecutor today, so mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. I will be offering quick discussion on measures 11, 16, 17, 18, and 20. For Bill 11, I really do appreciate the introducers of this measure and the intent of the bill. I do have some concerns because of how broadly electronic amusement device or device is defined, and would this inadvertently apply to Chuck E. Cheese or Dave & Buster's or Fun Factory. And furthermore, HPD would be solely responsible for implementing and enforcing this proposal. So we as a council should amend the effective date so HPD has time to plan and budget how much will this proposal cost. That's just but I am in support of that. For Bill 16, I will be voting with reservations just solely on have we consulted with the union and will this again be impacted by any collective bargaining? So that's for Bill 16 with reservations. Bill 17, I just wanted to disclose that I filed a disclosure of interest statement on Bill 17, which has been filed as Council Communication number 44. Bill 18, I will be voting no. I have the same sentiments as Councilmember Tupola, so at this time I will be voting no on that bill. And Bill 20, I think it's a great idea. Maybe I can ask these questions furthermore for BFS and CSD. Do they have the staff administration for this program? How much will this cost the city? Those are some questions I have, as well as will there be a limit to the amount of down payment loans? For example, $1 million a year. So just further discussion, but in support of that as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Tolba.
Thank you, Chair. Just on Bill 18, no vote on my side. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you. I'll be talking about Bill 15, Bill 17, and Bill 18. First, with regard to Bill 15, greatly appreciate this follow-up relating to the bill that put it on the charter. I especially like the fact that you are, the authors are looking at dealing with cesspool conversion. I do believe that this is because this was created by the City Council proposed, that this is the type of opportunity for the council to prioritize where we want the funds to go. There's no doubt that cesspool conversion needs to occur, but our community needs kokua. I would just like to say to the administration that invasive species, the devastating impact, both ecologically and economically, is very important. And invasive species management could also be taken by not just this fund, but also the transient accommodation tax. With regard to Bill 7 relating to real property taxation, there was an error in the drafting of this measure. It should have said calendar year 2027, not fiscal year 2027. So I've introduced a CD1. And while I appreciate one of the testifiers' comments about dealing with other matters, the fact is there are other matters out there. And I do believe that since I was unable with others on the council to get a measure to automatically have it update every other, periodically, we are forced to have to quantify for BFS if we are trying to get their support. And I believe 3 years is a fair time for an adjustment to occur. And that would be for all homeowners to lift it from 120 to 140,000, and then for 65 and older, 160 to 180,000. With regard to Bill 18, I appreciate the intent, but I also will be voting no on this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wire, well, can I give anybody else a chance to talk first? Anybody else want to express their reservations or no votes? Seeing none, Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick question for Deputy Managing Director on Bill 18.
Can we wait and have that done at committee? I do note that it's now 110 members. We're trying to, it's first reading, we're in discussion, ready to vote. But
no, I was just going to ask them to go on record of their position on the bill, so it could take 5 seconds, but of course, if Chair wants us to, can.
Director Babcock, please.
Deputy Managing Director.
Chair Waters, Vice Chair, and Council members, thank you. This is Bill 18 relating to plastic. We defer to the wisdom of the Council on this item.
Okay. So you have no position one way or the other?
At this point, we don't have a position one way or the other, but we would like the opportunity to have that discussion with you in committee.
Okay. Mahalo. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none. The first reading items on pages 15 through 19 of the agenda have passed first reading. I'd like to note the reservations of Councilmember Cordero and Wire on Bill 13, as well as reservations from Councilmember Okimoto on Bill 16, and no votes for Councilmembers Tupola, Okimoto, Tolba, and Kia'aina on page 18. Thank you, members. Moving on to page 20. Page
Chair?
20, yes.
I have a brief question.
Councilmember Tupola.
If it's okay with you, on page 28, we have resolution 2530 for the SRO. I just wanted to see if we could move it up because we have the Maui PD on and the Maui principal, just so that we could get our answers clarified better. I asked them if they could join us. That would be if you're amenable, Chair, page 28, Resol 2530.
Any objections, members, to moving up resolution 2530? Seeing none. Okay. Moving to page 28, members, resolution 25-30. Councilmember Okimoto for the motion.
I move that Committee Report 58 and Resolution 25-30 be adopted.
Kokua.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Okimoto for the explanation.
Urging the Honolulu Police Department and Hawaii State Department of Education to enter into an agreement to assign school resource officers to West Oahu Public High Schools.
Thank you. Do we have any registered testifiers? Seeing none.
Mr. Chair, I believe we do have registered testifiers.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
We do have registered testifiers.
Okay, please proceed.
Hold on, we'll try to get them on.
I think we have Representative Keela.
I believe we have the gentleman on now by video conference.
I believe we have Paul Ayo, Michael Rice, and Jonathan Honda registered to testify.
Who's this?
Are any of the three people available?
I believe Mr. Ayo is online.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please state your name and please proceed.
Okay. Paul Ayo, resident Nanakuli. I'm in favor of the SRO program that's been introduced by Tupola. My background is law enforcement, 43 years in law enforcement. Of that 43 years, 5 of those years were as a school resource officer in the state of Washington. So when that program was adopted by the state of Washington, I was one of the 5 or 4 gentlemen that was sent to school to learn all about the program and become almost educated in how to handle kids, parents, as well as administrators in the school background or the school campus. So anyway, it's a triad approach, which is counselor, mentor, teacher, and law enforcement officer. If any questions you have of me, you can ask me now. I know my time's going to run out shortly here, so I'm good. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any question for Mr. Ayo? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. Is Michael Rice available?
Yes, Michael Rice speaking in support of 2530. As I'm laid out in my written testimony, this bill is long overdue. I mentioned the incident where there was a student with a handgun on the campus of Waianae High School who rather than HPD being called, they sent unarmed security to confront him, and he simply fled off campus. There was also the incident where the drug dealer involved in that, which was kind of suspicious that HPD was not called at all for those incidents. Another incident where HPD actually was called was a girl selling vape pens on campus, but her parent intervened before HPD could do an investigation. She simply removed the vape pens on her daughter from school before HPD arrived. I believe this is long overdue. The only concern I have would be the shortages of officers we have, and if we would be able to do this. Thank you very much. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Next, we have Jonathan Honda.
Aloha. Thank you for having me. I'm Sergeant Jonathan Honda, and I serve in the Juvenile Crime Prevention Division of the Maui Police Department, testifying today in support of Resolution 2530. I have approximately 14 years of experience as a police officer, 7 which have been as a school resource officer at Maui High School and Maui Waianae Intermediate School. Although an officer on campus will enforce all laws, that is not the primary objective, as we wear many hats. All Maui County school resource officers are trained through NASRO, which is the National Association of School Resource Officers, whose triad concept we follow consists of 3 main roles: educator, informal counselor, and law enforcement officer. Many of our SROs serve as senior project mentors, coaches, and key members in our community. I began my role as an SRO at the intermediate school in Maui Waianae, where I served for 18 months before transitioning to Maui High School, the next step for many of my students. This transition allowed me to continue building relationships with them, providing consistency and trusted presence as they navigated through high school. Because of the trust and respect that I had earned, students and parents felt comfortable reporting issues to me, knowing that I had their best interests at heart. Establishing these relationships with students and parents is essentially strengthening our community. SROs are actively engaged in our schools. Each morning, I'll greet students, walk the campus during recess and lunch to talk story, and remain visible in high traffic areas at school. I made it a priority to know students on a first-name basis, ask them questions about their day, discuss upcoming sporting events, and to just talk about their post-graduation plans. Demonstrating genuine care fosters trust in law enforcement shaping a positive connection that extends into adulthood. So as an SRO, bridging the gap between youth and law enforcement is a must. Through my experience, I found that building relationships with students, faculty, and families is essential, that these positive interactions foster trust within our community and create a supportive environment for our youth. I believe that having a school resource officer not only makes your school a safer place, but it helps to shape the community that you love in a positive direction. So I'm all in favor of having an SRO at your high school or your school. Thank you. And I'm open to any questions as well.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Maui Police Department? Seeing none, thank you. I know, Mr. Clerk, we have two people with their hands up.
Hi, aloha, Chair Waters, Vice Chair Kia Aina, and respectful members of the Honolulu City Council. Mahalo today for allowing me the chance and opportunity to join you folks in front of the council. I'd like to stand on my written testimony provided to you folks, but just urge and share that what we've experienced on the Waianae Coast in the last several months is unprecedented to be said. But I think this serves as an opportunity for us to leverage the resources that we have before us to set forth a pilot program that would eventually, hopefully, fall throughout the entire County of Honolulu. Look, we're the only island in the state that does not have SROs currently, but I think what an opportunity to make the framework and possibilities occur on the west side of Oahu, where it's desperately needed. I understand that there are other schools throughout the island that may not be facing the increase of violence or activity, but I think having the framework built out, should the pilot program expand further to the county, only serve us and our students, families, and Keiki with safer and more protection. So again, I'd like to stand on my testimony and just thank you folks for the consideration of this measure before you folks. Mahalo.
Thank you so much, Rep. Gila. Members, any questions for the representative? Seeing none, thank you. I believe we have one more hand up, Mr. Clerk.
Aloha, Kauia Simpson, a resident of Nanakuli. I think it's important for the SRO. As a prior security attendant at Nanakuli Heights Intermediate School, I've seen how the availability of great mentors and positive role model relationships on campus are highly beneficial to our students. So how much greater to have a police officer on our campus doing that very thing. This will also help with changing the narrative, the negative narrative that we've had between HPD and our community, specifically on the Waianae side, and maybe others that I don't know of. I'm very much in favor. I raised my two older children in Washington State, where we had an SRO at our school, and I saw how beneficial and how it was preventative work having that SRO on campus. So therefore, when I came back to my community and my alumni and noticed that we had no SRO, that's where I went on a chase to go find out how we can get a SRO on our campus. And I'm very thankful for the representatives, council members who are in favor and putting in the work to make this happen. So very much in favor for as a security attendant and as a parent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Okay, thank you. Members, we're in discussion.
I think we have one in person.
Oh, I'm sorry. HPD, aloha. Thank you.
No, okay. Good afternoon, Chair Waters. Aaron Takasaki Young, Assistant Chief with the Honolulu Police Department. I'm here to answer any questions, provide any updates that you guys may have regarding our endeavor to pursue SROs in the high schools.
Thank you. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much. Yes, Assistant Chief, thank you for being here. I know your time is valuable. I appreciate you being the spokesperson so that you can update the council. Could you just give a brief report on how many we're looking at, when we're looking at starting, and where we are in the process with DOE? Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember Tupola. So currently we're exploring hiring retired officers on a contract basis, given the amount of staffing we have to dedicate to this pilot program. We're looking to hire anywhere around 4 to 6 retirees that have experience in being able to communicate and relate with students and teachers. So hopefully we can secure contracts by the end of the fiscal continue that for fiscal year 26 and start with 2 schools, one on the west side to be determined and one in our central town patrol district. So it'll be about, if we can, hire 3 contract retirees at 2 schools each, so 6 total.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions, members? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify? Seeing none, members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, council members, for allowing us to take this out of order so that we could have our testifiers join us. I appreciate Maui PD being here with me, and as well, they hosted me at Maui High School last week so that I could speak with the complex superintendent, the principal, vice principal, and the 2 SRO officers on campus to get a better idea of what happens from day to day. First off, I want to thank Uncle Paul and especially Kauia Simpson, who testified earlier, as they too have been champions in the Nanakuli community, not just for the safety of our kids at the high school, but specifically trying to get this program implemented. I support this resolution because HPD data shows that there's been a 133% increase in violent crime in parts of West Oahu, and our schools are not immune. During the 2023 to 2024 school year alone, Waianae, Kapolei, Campbell, and Nanakuli High School reported over 800 service calls requiring a police response. Assigning SROs to these campuses is a proactive step to improve safety, deter crime, and reduce the strain on HPD patrol officers responding to school-related incidents. This program will not pull officers from patrol, but will instead use the 89-day hire model in collaboration with DHR. I thank Core Counsel, DHR, Chief Logan, Assistant Chief Takasaki Young, and the DOE for having these ongoing conversations. We're at about 1.5 years now we've been talking, so we're looking forward to starting it this coming fall. 3 of the statements that were made to me in Maui that I'd like to share here with the council, one of them made by the vice principal said, "I can't operate from day to day without these officers. They are my colleagues. I call them any time of day when we have questions and they answer." Another statement made by the principal, he said, "This is a great program because the officers are talking to kids when they're not in trouble, so that when they do get in trouble, they already have a relationship and that they're able to de-escalate and calm situations on campus." The complex superintendent told me the reason why she supports it so heavily is because of the community and campus protection. These officers do respond to calls around the community surrounding the school to make sure the students are safe. I also spoke with the head of DLE, Mike Lambert, and he said that they'll try to secure some money and see if they can get some SRO officers on the state side to do other schools. So we're all working in unison. Everyone really is. And we're working for the safety of our youth and the safety of our community by putting officers in there that are going to be youth mentors. 2 of the officers that I met with in Maui, one is the flag football coach, the other one is a varsity coach for football. So they really are a part of the school, and they really have contributed in a way that the school can't operate without them, and I hope we can get to that point here in our county. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 58 and Resolution 25-30 has been adopted. Members, moving back to page 20 from the Committee on Budget. Councilmember Dos Santos Town.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 23 be adopted and Bill 3 pass second reading.
Second motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
This relates to incentives for businesses.
Thank you so much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we have 2 registered testifiers, one in the chamber, one remotely.
Okay, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Council members, Natalie Wassa for the record. I support this. So basically, this is repealing the business incentive program, which was in place a long time ago and never got implemented. What I request that you folks do in committee is understand why the rules were never put in place for this program. I mean, it sounded like it was a good thing, but you know, if you don't follow through with rules and people aren't educated about it, then they don't know and it just doesn't go anywhere. And I think this is really important to understand because I've seen other programs put in place by the City Council that just sound good and don't go anywhere. So you need to have everybody on board and understand what the holdback was on this. But I support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, our second registered testifier.
I'm sorry, I was mistaken. That was for the next measure. So that concludes the registered testifiers.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience or online who'd like to testify? Seeing none, thank you, members. We're in discussion. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Thank you, Chair. This again is continuing my efforts to clean up some of the obsolete provisions in ROH. But to Ms. Iwasa's testimony, I actually appreciate her testimony on this. And my office has been sending letters to all of the departments asking them for copies of their admin rules, especially when we as the council direct the various departments to implement rules, so we can identify other areas where they haven't implemented the rules or perhaps haven't updated the rules in decades.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 23 has been adopted and Bill 3 has passed second reading. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 24 be adopted and Bill 4, CD1, as amended, pass second reading.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
This relates to sponsorships.
Thank you. I believe we have two registered testifiers, Mahealani Cipher, followed by Winston Welch. Aloha and welcome.
Is it on? Okay. Aloha, Chair Waters, members of the City Council. On behalf of the Ko'olau Foundation, I'm Mahealani Cipher, and I wish to express our concerns and recommendations regarding Bill Number 4, CD1, which would allow the city to approve commercial sponsorships in return for naming rights of city and county properties. The Ko'olau Foundation is a 501c3 recognized nonprofit organization dedicated to the preservation and perpetuation of our Native Hawaiian history, culture, and heritage. As such, we're concerned about the possibility that the city may be initiating a program that may lead to the loss of traditional names for various city parks and places that may be important cultural and historic treasures. We should note that this council was extremely supportive and understanding when the Ko'olau Poko Hawaiian Civic Club was able to persuade you to support the renaming of Kaneohe Beach Park to Naone Ala'a, named after Chief La'amaikahiki, an historic figure who resided at that beach centuries ago, and we thank you for that. Since that event, other communities have come to us and asked about renaming places in their own areas that once had traditional Hawaiian names or were dedicated to specific historic figures. It has troubled us for some years now, particularly when a city property is renamed by the City Council, but it loses its original name, which was often assigned in honor of someone's contributions or their place in our island's history. In reading news reports about this particular initiative, it was also concerning that an example of a place being considered for renaming or offering sponsorships for naming rights is Blaisdell Center. I remember when the city named this complex the Neil Blaisdell Center years ago, after a beloved and popular former mayor. I wonder how much that sponsorship is worth. I wonder how much it would cost for a business sponsor to rename the Fasi Municipal Building. Do you remember what an uproar occurred a few years ago when someone in Chicago trademarked the words Poke Bowl? This is something you might want to think about. Please let me clarify. We wholly support the Council's interest in finding alternative funding resources. And this is not a bad bill. We commend you for the idea, mai ka'i. We wish to offer some thoughts or suggestions for you to consider before you prepare this bill in its final form. First, perhaps including language that exempts from this sponsorship program historic properties that are listed or eligible to be listed on the national, state, or Honolulu's list of historic places. Second, it might be possible to route a suggested sponsor site through the Oʻahu Historic Preservation Commission. And lastly, could you please ensure that no language in this bill enables the sponsor to hold complete control of a city property unless agreed to in advance in the sponsorship agreement by City Council resolution. We appreciate your consideration of our concerns and recommendations. Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Before I leave, I can't stay till the end of the meeting, but I would also like to express our strong support for Resolution 2544 for the Hauʻula community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on Bill 4? Or Winston Welch, is he available?
Yes, we have Mr. Welch by video conference and one other person by phone.
Okay, please proceed.
Yeah, aloha, Chair Waters and council members. I'm Winston Welch, Executive Director of the Outdoor Circle, and I would, yes, the last testifier from Ko'olau Foundation has some very good points to consider. I would refer you to the Star Advertiser editorial on Monday of this week about this Bill 4 and also Resolution 2550. Essentially, it's not anything that can't be worked out in committee, and we appreciate Councilmember Cordero's willingness to meet with us in committee, and that's the best time to bring that up, as well as the administration on just some clarifying language that reinforces and upholds the language in our signage laws. We'd like to see rules actually introduced here before this is passed, just to, as the last discussion from Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, that we need to have rules here. UH has a good model that we might follow, as Councilmember Toba referenced, or perhaps you, Chair Waters, in the resolution as well. We do look forward to working in committee on Bill 4 and appreciate your help in upholding our signage laws, which are actually universally upheld as the gold standard. So thank you very much for your time today, and hope you have a good rest of your afternoon.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Mr. Welch? Seeing none, thank you, sir. I believe we have someone by phone. Mr. Clerk, please proceed.
Yeah, good afternoon. Can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Yeah, my name's Tim Gary. I strongly support Bill 4. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on Bill 4? Seeing none, members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the measure and still in support, but just wanted to note that I did actually really appreciate the feedback we received via testimony. Just knowing it's going to go back to me, I just would throw out that I did like the idea of maybe having it go through the Historic Preservation Commission at the city as well, but open to input from everyone else. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. I would like to also thank the city administration for their letter, Deputy Managing Director Jayaram for suggested recommendations for consideration, as well as meetings with different stakeholders, including the Outdoor Circle. Definitely appreciate it, and I look forward to diving into the recommendation by Ms. Cipher as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting none, CR-24 has been adopted, and Bill 4, CD1, has passed second reading. Members, moving to the top of page 21, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 25 be adopted and Bill 9 pass second reading.
Second the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
This relates to fees and charges.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no testifiers.
Thank you, members. We're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR-25 has been adopted and Bill 9 has passed second reading. From the Committee on Planning, Infrastructure, and Transportation, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 35 be adopted and Bill 61, 2024, CD1, as amended, pass second reading.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation.
This measure relates to wheelies.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we have Ms. Iwasa signed up to testify.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. Just a comment. So basically, this bill would disallow e-bikes, mopeds, and motorcycles from doing wheelies on the road. In my opinion, that's already reckless driving, and so it's already illegal. But I understand the reason behind this bill. My comment is that then what you're saying is that it's okay for bicyclists who are not riding an e-bike to do wheelies in public roads, which I think is also not a good thing to do. And if you pass this, then it brings up the question whether other reckless activities such as swerving in the road, need to be defined in this manner. So just my comments on the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the testifiers.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Reservations.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 35 has been adopted and Bill 61, 2024, CD1 has passed second reading. Moving to the top of page 22, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 36 be adopted and Bill 1 CD1 as amended pass second reading, and this relates to public places.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as well as explained. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we have Ms. Iwasa signed up for this measure.
Okay, please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wasa, for the record. I'm actually testifying as president of Cycle on Hawaii, which is a 501c3 organization. We support this measure. It would make the outdoor dining services pilot program permanent. And Cycle on Hawaii had a heli on Kaka'ako a little over 10 years ago. We had parklets as demonstrations in Kaka'ako, which was a really fun thing. After we did that, then Kaimuki started having them, you had the pilot program. The reason we support this is generally those types of services reduce the speed in these neighborhoods where they have them because they're more visible and people are out and about. So we encourage the development of this and support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify on Bill 1? Seeing none, members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. I know that this is just up for second reading and public hearing and is going to be coming back to my committee. I do want to have a discussion further discussion in my committee looking at consolidating to at least two or three different agencies versus about maybe 4 agencies. I would take a look at enforcing this or implementing this program, and with DTS being the issuer of the permits. So I just wanted to bring that up for further discussion next time. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 36 has been adopted and Bill 1 CD1 has passed second reading. Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 37 be adopted and Bill 6 CD1 as amended pass second reading. And this, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Second.
This relates to structures.
Thank you so much. It's been moved and seconded as well as explained. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero? Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 37 has been adopted and Bill 6 CD1 has passed second reading. Moving to the top of page 23, third reading items from the Committee on Housing, Sustainability, Economy and Health, Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Move the Committee Report 29 be adopted and Bill 63, 2024, CD1 as amended past third reading.
Kokua.
This is relating to accessory dwelling units.
Thank you so much. It's been moved and seconded as well as explained. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
No, Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero? Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 29 has been adopted and Bill 63, 2024. CD1 has passed third reading. From the Committee on Planning, Infrastructure, and Transportation, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 34 be adopted and Bill 50, 2024, CD1 as amended pass third reading.
Second.
And it relates to parades, street festivals, and other activities.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded as well as explained. Mr. Clerk, do we have testifiers?
Yes, we have one person with their hand raised online by phone.
Please proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please
Hello?
proceed.
Yeah, Chair, thanks so much for moving this forward. It's taken forever. And the rest of the City Council, I encourage you to share the joy of parades and festivals and try to promote them in your districts. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any other testifiers? Oh, Mr. Finley, aloha. Thank you for being here. Please proceed.
Hi. Aloha, Chair and members of the Council. I submitted written testimony in favor of Bill 50 and would like to thank you for all the hard effort you've made to make this a bill that will allow our residents in Waikiki to not have to fight the terrible traffic every time we have all of these events, in particular our ADA folks who attempt to cross the streets when an event is on and just have a terrible time with it. And again, thank you, Chair, for all your hard work on this.
Thank you, Mr. Finley. I believe we have a few other testifiers. Please proceed.
Okay, I also submitted written testimony. Aloha, Chair Waters, aloha, council members. Now, do you want me to read what I wrote or just talk to you?
We've already read what you wrote, so please just talk to us.
Okay. It's really, really challenging doing business in Waikiki. I want to remind you that we have still not recovered to pre-COVID numbers. The international customers, between the dollar being the strongest currency in the world, if you're from Canada, Japan, any international destination, you basically have to pay double to triple based on the value of your currency. So the resident has always been important to us. We validate over 17,000 parking validations a month with people driving in and out. So when you have Kalakaua shut down on the night before Mother's Day, which is the biggest restaurant day of the year, or the night before Easter Sunday, these permits were targeting the busiest times of Waikiki. And as you know, and I know the buzzer went off, it's expensive to do business in Waikiki. And so to take away the burden of having to have shut down, no customers, limited customers at the peak nights of the year, you're gonna help us level the playing field, and you're gonna help business in Waikiki, and you're gonna help Kama'aina and people that wanna come into Waikiki and have a good time. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
I'm Sam Shankus from Rural Hawaiian Center.
Thank you.
Chairman, members of the council, aloha. Having lived and worked in Waikiki for the past 45 years, I fully support this measure. My name is Steve Matsuno, and I'm speaking on behalf as a resident of Waikiki. Perhaps Hawaii's most prominent thoroughfare, Kalakaua Avenue's impact is obvious. Entities operating near here are subject to some of the highest operating costs anywhere. Closing this many Saturdays is paramount to us losing an entire month of business. This issue has plagued us for many, many years, and the refinements that have been made are very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Waters and members of the council. Waikiki Improvement Association has worked very closely with our council member on forming this bill, and I realize it covered a lot of other things as well as it went through the process, but we do appreciate all the time and effort that went into getting this done. It makes a big difference for Waikiki. It was necessitated because some local businesses figured out a way to make a very large profit on the city street. And none of the money of which went to the city, by the way, because it was just a normal permit fee. And what this meant was there was a proliferation of these events. And to the point, even this year, we have too many of these street festivals. In other words, we've changed it from only events being regulated are street festivals. That's because those events close Waikiki down, Kalakaua Avenue down from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to midnight. And it creates a tremendous burden on our residents, our businesses in Waikiki, and we really appreciate all the time and effort that went into creating this bill that help us to get beyond this particular problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify? Seeing none, thank you all for being here today. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, I just want to thank the former chair of the Transportation Committee, Tyler Dos Santos Tam, as well as the current chair of the Transportation Committee, Councilmember Cordero, as well as the Neighborhood Board, Department of Transportation Services, Corp Council, and the businesses who participated in this bill. As if you couldn't tell, that was Tim Gary on the phone, the honorary mayor of Waikiki, but he made a good point. This actually took quite a long time to get done, so thank you all in your anticipated support. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kiaina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR-34 has been adopted and Bill 50, 2024, CD1 has passed third reading. Congratulations. Members, we're on page 24. From the Committee on International Legal Affairs, Councilmember Nishimoto.
I move that Committee Report 38 be adopted and Bill 33, CD1, pass third reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Nishimoto for the explanation.
Relating to Chapter 1, Revised Ordinance of Honolulu 2021 as amended.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kiaina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR-38 has been adopted and Bill 33, 2024, CD1 has passed third reading. From the Committee on Zoning, Councilmember Kiaina.
I move that Committee Report 51 be adopted and Bill 58, 2024, CD2 as amended pass third reading.
Thank you.
Kukua.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Kiaina for the explanation.
Sorry. Relating to the building code, amends the building code of the City and County of Honolulu.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero? Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kiaina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR-51 has been adopted. Bill 58, 2024, CD2 has passed third reading. Resolutions, moving to the top of page 25 from the Committee on Budget, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move the Committee Report 27 and Resolution 25-38 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
This would approve the month-to-month rental with Camp Mokuleia Incorporated for a period of up to 4 years for the city's Mokuleia Beach Park addition at the TMK listed on the agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have one person registered, Mr. Whitaker.
Aloha, welcome. Thank you very much for waiting patiently.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Council. My name's Darrell Whitaker. I'm the Executive Director at Camp Mokuleia. And thank you to the City County of Honolulu for allowing us to lease this property for the past over 30 years. Actually, we've been leasing it for 40 years, 30 years from the City County. The main use of this property is to provide safe and affordable camping for our local residents. We do use it for other purposes, but that is the main purpose. Allowing us to renew our lease will allow us to actually enlarge our camping capacity in the coming years.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Councilmember Tupolo.
Yeah, no questions, but I've been there and I think you guys do a great job and I'm glad that you guys have this available to the public for camping. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, I believe that concludes the testifiers.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
That concludes the registered testifiers.
Thank you very much. Members, any discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting none, CR 27 and Resolution 25-38, CD1 has been adopted. Thank you. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Chair, I move that Committee Report 28 and Resolution 25-44 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for the explanation.
Chair, this would approve a request to compromise certain claims concerning the taxation of real property.
Thank you so much. I believe we have Dottie Paddock registered to testify. Aloha, welcome, and thank you very much for waiting patiently today.
Thank you very much. And it's been a long day, but I've enjoyed it very much. I really appreciate all the hard work you do. My name's Dottie Kelly Paddock. I'm here as Executive Director of Hui o Ha'ula, an organization that serves the Ko'olaloa District, and we are now in our 10th year. In regards to this issue, I just wanted to share a few things that we got a right of entry for this DLNR land in 2019, and it went to 2023. In 2023, we asked for a 5-year lease, but they made a mistake and they gave us a 3-year lease. And so it went before BLNR and we said, fine, we'll take that lease. We didn't know the implications that we were not going to be exempt from property taxes. And we did not know that at the time. And we also were not provided with any notice of tax assessments for over 20 months after we signed that lease. So we ask you to consider those issues that we are working on this land. We've done over $1 million of work to clear invasive species, and we've also removed all the trash opala from the land. This is the site for our new resilience hub, and it's a site that gives our community hope. Hope that someday we'll have a resilience hub there, and hope that people will be safe in natural disasters as well as emergencies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Paddock? Seeing none, thank you. Also, Linda Avegalio? Hello, I'm sorry. You could state your name for the record.
You did very well. Linda Avegalio, Hui o Ha'ula. And I think she said it very eloquently. Our community has worked tirelessly over so many years under her amazing leadership. And this was quite a shock to us to get this information. So I hope that you will consider that and help us to be able to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify? Noting the prior comments from Mahelani Cipher in support, members were in discussion. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to mahalo the testifiers for, again, as you said, waiting for a long portion of the day, and so appreciate the work that's being done. Wanted to acknowledge testimony that I think is forthcoming from Senator Awa and support as well via letter. And yeah, just want to encourage and ask that our colleagues support the measure going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 28 and Resolution 25-44 has been adopted. Congratulations, and thank you for all your hard work. Members, turning to page 26 from the Committee on Housing and Sustainability and Economy and Health, Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Committee Report 30 and Resolution 24-293 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Kokua.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Wire for the explanation.
This is approving the grant of easements to the Eva by Gentry Community Association within a portion of 91-1000 Geiger Road and the city-owned portions of Geiger Road, TMK 9-1-069.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members were in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 30 and Resolution 24-293 CD1 has been adopted. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Committee Report 32 and Resolution 2546 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Kokua.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Wire for the explanation.
This is authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a development contract between the city and TC Kihapai LLC and a ground lease between the city in Kihapai Place Apartments and execute grants of utility or access easements to develop affordable rental housing at 734 and 735 Kihapai Place, Kailua, Oʻahu.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members are in discussion. Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you, Chair. I strongly support this project, which is in my district. I believe that it is critically important for the city administration to continue to look at underutilized city properties and other private properties as opportunities to increase affordable housing units on Oahu. I would like to see more of these projects in my district and elsewhere on Oahu. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 32 and Resolution 25-46 CD1 has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 27, Vice Chair Wire.
I move that Rules 8A and 10 be suspended indefinitely only as to the naming of the committee as the Committee on Executive Matters and Legal Affairs. This suspension is to recognize that items that were referred to the Committee on Executive Matters and Legal Affairs are now referred to the Committee on International and Legal Affairs. In other words, just adjusting the name in our rules of the committee. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members were in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, the motion is adopted. Now, from the Committee on International Legal Affairs, Councilmember Nishimoto.
I move that CR 43 and Resolution 25-59 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Nishimoto for the explanation.
To retain legal services.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members were in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 43 and Resolution 25-59 has been adopted. From the Committee on Zoning, Councilmember Kia Aina.
I move that Committee Report 54 and Resolution 25-39 CD1 as amended be adopted.
Kokua.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Kia Aina for the explanation.
This resolution grants a special management area major permit to allow for the construction of certain phased improvements in Waimea Valley in Haleiwa, Oahu.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Kia Aina.
Just wanted to show my support for the leadership of the executive director of Hi'ipaka and LLC, as well as Waimea Valley and his team, Richard Pizzulo. They've done a tremendous job to bring this valley, back from the brink, as I would say. It's flourishing. It's not just in its cultural and historical value, but as a premier tourism destination site. And I feel that they've done the right balance. And more noteworthy, I believe that their engagement with the Federal Economic Development Administration is something that needs to be replicated by other nonprofits to move such projects forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members, any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Nishimoto? Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 54 and Resolution 25-39, CD1, has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 28 from the Committee on Public Safety, Customer Services, Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Committee Report 57 and Resolution 25-28 be adopted.
Kokua.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Okimoto for the explanation.
Accepting a gift of $8,000 to the city from the deputies for the Honolulu Fire Department Scholarship Program.
Thank you so much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, just want to thank the firefighters who are here waiting patiently. Appreciate you. Any objections or reservations? Seeing none, CR 57 and Resolution 25-28 has been adopted. As mentioned before, we took care of Resolution 25-30. So moving to the top of page 29, Councilmember Okimoto.
I move that Committee Report 59 and Resolution 25-40 be adopted.
Kokua.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Okimoto for the explanation.
Accepting a gift of $14,000 to the city from the deputies for the Honolulu Police Department's Law Enforcement Explorer Program.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, also want to thank the police officers who waited patiently for this as well. Appreciate you guys. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 59 and Resolution 25-40 has been adopted. Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Committee Report 60 and Resolution 25-47 be adopted.
Kokua.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Okimoto for the explanation.
Accepting a gift of $16,400 to the city from the Honolulu Firefighters Foundation for various Honolulu Fire Department events.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Do you have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting none, CR 60 and Resolution 25-47 has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 30 from the Committee on Innovation, Technology, and Entertainment, Councilmember Tolba.
I move that CR 65 and Resolution 2550 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Tolba for the explanation.
Urging the Department of Enterprise Services to pursue the sponsorship naming of rights for the Blaisdell Center.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, I believe we have Winston Welch registered to testify. Is Mr. Welch available?
Mr. Chair, the testifier is no longer logged on.
Okay, are there any other testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no other testifiers.
Thank you. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 65 and Resolution 25-50 has been adopted. Moving to page 31, balance of committee reports. Vice Chair Wire.
I move that the balance of committee reports be adopted.
Kokua.
It's been moved and seconded. Vice Chair Wire for the explanation.
So this relates to ILACR-44, 45, 46, 47, 48, and 53. The first request for authorization to settle lawsuit against the City and County of Honolulu entitled Pamela Nonaka versus City and County of Honolulu. Request for authorization to settle case against the city entitled Sefo Fatai versus City and County of Honolulu et al. Request for authorization to settle against the city entitled Darlene Tamashiro individually and as Guardian of R.B, a minor et al. Versus City and County of Honolulu et al. Request for authorization to settle a lawsuit against the city entitled Bonnie Chermak et al. Versus KS Ilima et Leihano LLC et al. Request for authorization to settle a lawsuit against the city entitled Nancy Sublette versus City and County of Honolulu, civil number 1CCV 220000861, and finally granting ZONCR-53 granting a 90-day extension of time for Resolution 2524, granting a special management area major permit to allow for the construction of 2 new single-family dwellings with attached garages in Lāʻie, Oʻahu.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you, members. We're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, the balance of committee reports have been adopted. Moving to page 32, unfinished business. There is no unfinished business. Moving to new business. Vice Chair Wire.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Resolution 2552, accepting a gift of $85,000 to the city from the Waikiki Business Improvement District Association, be adopted.
Kukua.
It's been moved and seconded, as well as explained. Mr. Clerk, do we have any testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you, members. We're in discussion. Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, Resolution 25-52 has been adopted. Members, any announcements? I would like to just point out it was Duncan Osorio, my Chief of Staff for Council Administrative Services, birthday on Friday, so happy birthday, brother. Any further announcements? Councilmember Cordero.
Okay, so since Councilmember Kia Aina isn't here, and I think she's not here either, just happy birthday, Gloria, to you from Council District 3.
All right. Councilmember Toba.
I just want to welcome Kyle Lindsay to my office. He's our new outreach programs manager. Thank you.
All right, welcome. Any last announcements, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair Wire for the motion to adjourn.
I move that the meeting stand adjourned until Wednesday, March 19, 2025 at 10 a.m.
Kokua.
It's been moved and seconded. Any objections? Nobody, no objections. Council stands adjourned until Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.